Everyone, listen to me carefully. Why is it that in the most critical moments of life, noise surrounds us, but the wisest voices say nothing? You see, silence is not the absence of action, it is the presence of mastery. When you understand your identity, your assignment, and the power of restraint, you stop wasting energy on proving things to people who were never assigned to understand you in the first place. The lion doesn't roar at every barking dog. He only roars when it's time to take territory. There comes a point in your life when your silence will speak louder than your defense, when your discipline will say more than your explanation, when walking away becomes more powerful than winning an argument. Sometimes the greatest strength is not in what you say, but in what you refuse to respond to. Because silence, when aligned with purpose, becomes a weapon, sharp, precise, and unshakable. It is not weakness. It is wisdom. Have you ever noticed how the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful? In fact, the more noise someone makes, the more insecure they often are. We've been taught to believe that making noise is equal to making progress. That if we speak louder, argue harder, or explain ourselves enough, we'll finally be heard, understood, respected. But what if I told you that silence can be more powerful than words? That silence, when applied with purpose, becomes not a void, but a strategy? Silence is not weakness. It's not surrender. It's not avoidance. Silence is a calculated decision, often the most intelligent one you can make in the middle of confusion, conflict, or chaos. Because sometimes the moment you speak, you step out of alignment with your greater goal. You give energy to what doesn't deserve it. You lose leverage, not because you were wrong, but because you allowed noise to control the atmosphere instead of strategy. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where you wanted to defend yourself desperately, but something told you not to? That quiet pull inside that whispered, not now. Hold it. Let them talk. Let them assume. That moment wasn't weakness. It was power under control. It was strategy in motion. Because sometimes when you're silent, people reveal more than they realize. They expose their motives. They uncover their assumptions, they show their character, and you keep your positioning. That's the weapon. The silence that keeps you focused while the world expects a reaction. Seasons in your life where silence will protect your reputation more than speaking ever could. Not because you don't know what to say, but because you know exactly what's at stake. You recognize that every word is a seed. Every response is an investment. And the question is this worth your voice? Is this worth your energy? Is this moment worth your peace? When you understand who you are and where you're going, you no longer feel the need to announce every move or explain every decision. There's power in being underestimated. There's advantage in being misread. And silence is the shield that allows you to build while others are busy talking. You don't always have to speak to lead. You don't always have to fight to win. There's a wisdom in knowing when to engage and when to withdraw. And silence, intentional silence, is not just about holding your tongue. It's about preserving your direction. It's about choosing battles that build you, not ones that drain you. What most people fail to understand is that silence doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It means you're doing the most important thing: thinking, watching, preparing, growing. Because while everyone else is running their mouths, you're building your next move. Silence gives you space. Space to discern, space to strategize, space to observe what noise often distracts from. And in that space, you gain clarity. You begin to see what others miss. You learn who's for you, who's against you, and who's just watching to see what you'll do next. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them write their stories about you in their heads. Your silence is not for them. It's for your future. It's for your focus. It's for your peace. And one day, when it's time, your results will make the noise your voice never needed. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of control. Have you ever been in a moment where someone pushed every one of your buttons on purpose, and you felt that fire rise up in your chest, that heat behind your words just waiting to spill out, that burning need to prove a point, to clap back, to show them you're not the one to be messed with? We've all been there. But the real question is, what did you gain when you reacted? That's the trap. You think you're showing strength, but sometimes what you're really doing is showing your wounds. We've been conditioned to believe that the louder you react, the stronger you are. That the quicker you defend yourself, the more respect you'll gain. That if someone disrespects you, you have to say something. You have to do something. But maturity is not about being quick to respond. It's about knowing when a response costs more than it's worth. You realize with time that not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every insult requires a rebuttal. Not every challenge is worth accepting, because the moment you allow someone else's behavior to control your emotions, you've handed over your power silently and completely. Maturity is restraint. It's when you could expose them, but you choose not to. When you could win the argument, but you choose peace instead. When you could react in anger, but you walk away with dignity. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that not every fire is meant to be fought. Some fires are distractions dressed as battles. Ask yourself, what do I really lose when I stay silent? And what do I gain when I let someone pull me out of character just to prove a point that won't even matter tomorrow? The truth is, most people are not attacking you, they're projecting their pain. Their disrespect isn't always personal. It's often a reflection of their own inner chaos. And when you know who you are, when you're anchored in your own identity, you stop taking everything as a threat. You stop reacting to every storm that passes through your peace. There's a kind of strength that doesn't shout, a kind of power that doesn't perform. That kind of strength is invisible, internal, and immovable. It's the strength that lets someone misunderstand you and still sleep peacefully at night. It's the kind of strength that lets you choose your battles with precision, not emotion. Because you've come too far, built too much, grown through too many storms to let someone drag you back into a war that doesn't align with your future. Reacting might feel good in the moment. It might satisfy your pride. But maturity is when you no longer need that validation. You don't need to be right in everyone's eyes. You just need to be aligned with your purpose. And your purpose is too big to be delayed by petty reactions. You will reach a level in life where silence is not just a strategy, it becomes your peace treaty with yourself. A boundary that says, I no longer need to win moments. I want to win seasons. And to win seasons, you have to protect your energy like it's gold. Because it is. The strongest person in the room is often the one who doesn't flinch, who doesn't clap back, who doesn't chase arguments, who doesn't explain what time and truth will eventually reveal. That's real power. That's real control. Just because you're provoked doesn't mean you have to respond. Just because you're hurt doesn't mean you have to strike. Just because you're right doesn't mean you have to prove it. Restraint is power in its most elegant form. Have you ever sat in a room full of noise and felt completely unaffected because deep down you knew exactly who you were and what you were doing? That stillness, that calm in your spirit while everything around you is spinning, that's what purpose does. It gives your silence meaning. See, silence without direction can feel like fear. It can look like retreat or weakness. But silence grounded in purpose is completely different. It's not hiding, it's harnessing. It's not running away, it's positioning. When you know what you're here to do, you stop giving out explanations like candy. You stop apologizing for not reacting the way people expect. You stop chasing approval for decisions they were never meant to understand. Purpose changes the way you respond to pressure. It gives you the freedom to be quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you know there's something greater at stake. When you are aligned with purpose, your silence isn't empty, it's loaded. It's loaded with patience, vision, discipline, and timing. You stop asking, should I say something, and start asking, will this serve my purpose? You stop needing to be seen and start choosing to be effective. Most people talk because silence scares them. It makes them feel unseen, unheard, unimportant. But when you have purpose, you realize your voice doesn't lose value just because it's not constantly heard. In fact, it becomes more valuable. Because when you do speak, people know it matters. Purpose transforms silence into strategy. You start choosing when to speak, what to address, and what to completely ignore. You understand that not everything deserves your voice. Not every battle requires your participation, and not every opportunity is aligned with your mission. You're not here to do everything. You're here to do what you were assigned to do. Here, that kind of clarity makes your silence sacred. You no longer speak just to fill space. You speak to move something forward. And when the time isn't right, when the moment doesn't serve your vision, you sit in your silence, not passively, but intentionally, watching, discerning, growing. It's a different kind of strength, the kind the world doesn't always applaud because it doesn't make noise. But purpose doesn't need applause. It just needs alignment. And that alignment will keep you steady when everything else is shaking. People will question your silence. They'll mistake it for fear, indifference, or even arrogance. Let them. Let them wrestle with their assumptions while you stay grounded in your mission. Because the moment you start explaining yourself to everyone, you dilute the power of your direction. Silence becomes powerful when it's tied to a clear purpose, when you know why you're not responding, when you understand what you're building, when you're more committed to the long-term result than the short-term approval. Purpose gives your silence a voice, one louder than words, more stable than emotions, and more influential than reaction. You realize your growth doesn't need to be announced. Your plans don't need to be defended, and your identity doesn't need to be proven. Some of the greatest shifts in your life will happen in silence. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening where no one can see it. And that's the beauty of purpose. It allows you to go quiet without losing momentum. When your silence is aligned with purpose, it becomes the groundwork for transformation. Have you ever found yourself explaining your heart to someone who already made up their mind about you? Trying to prove your value to people who never saw it in the first place? It's exhausting, isn't it? That chase for validation, the endless attempt to be understood by those who don't even want to understand you. There's something incredibly freeing and powerful that happens when you stop needing to be explained and start letting your life speak. Because at some point you realize you don't need to explain what destiny will prove. That realization shifts everything. When you're growing, evolving, and stepping into new levels of your life, not everyone will keep up. Not everyone will get it. In fact, some people will criticize what they don't understand, resist what they can't control, and doubt what they can't see yet. And that's okay, because their misunderstanding is not your responsibility. Your only job is to stay aligned with where you're going. Explanations drain energy. Defending your decisions to people who are committed to misunderstanding you is like pouring water into a cup with no bottom. You give, and it never fills. You lose time, you lose peace, and worst of all, you lose focus. You don't owe the world a play-by-play of your process. Growth is often quiet. Progress doesn't always come with applause. And the people who are truly meant to walk with you won't need a PowerPoint presentation to support your decisions. They'll see your direction and honor your commitment, even when they don't fully understand it. You see, when you're destined for something greater, you don't have time to explain every pivot, every pause, every silent season. Those moments when it seems like nothing is happening, when others are talking and you're just building, those are sacred. Don't waste them trying to justify what your results will eventually make obvious. You have to get comfortable being misunderstood. You have to stop shrinking your vision so it fits into the lens of people who've never seen what you're capable of. You have to stop slowing down just to get everyone on the same page. Because if you keep doing that, you'll miss your moment. And here's the truth. When destiny starts to manifest, when the doors open, when the fruit of your silence begins to speak, those same people who once questioned you will start quoting you. The same ones who called you quiet will call you wise. The same ones who asked, "What are you even doing?" will ask, "How did you do it?" But by then, you won't even need to say a word, because the evidence will speak. The outcome will testify. The results will explain what your words never could. It's easy to forget this when you're in the middle of the process, when it's lonely, when it's quiet, when it feels like nobody sees the work behind the scenes. But that's the test. That's the moment when you have to decide, am I more committed to being understood or being effective? Because if you want to be effective, you'll have to let some people think what they want. You'll have to ignore the noise, bypass the gossip, and rise above the pressure to constantly defend yourself. Clarity doesn't require consensus, and vision doesn't require votes. So stay focused, stay planted, keep building, let them talk, let them wonder, let them assume. Your life will speak when the time is right. Have you ever been in the middle of a heated conversation, a difficult situation, or an overwhelming storm, only to realize that sometimes the best way to protect yourself is not to raise your voice or fight back, but to remain silent? It's counterintuitive, isn't it? We are wired to believe that protection comes from defense, from reacting, from showing strength in loudness. But true protection often comes from the power of silence. Silence shields what words cannot safeguard. It guards your reputation, your peace, and your progress in ways that noise and reaction simply cannot. Think about a fragile glass vase. You can protect it by wrapping it carefully in layers of soft cloth. The cloth doesn't shout, it doesn't resist, yet it absorbs the impact and preserves the vase. Silence is like that protective layer. It doesn't clash with the outside world, but it keeps your inner world safe. When you respond to every attack or engage in every argument, you expose yourself. You open doors to conflict that could have been kept shut. You give away pieces of your energy to battles that don't deserve them. Noise consumes your strength. It scatters your focus. It invites chaos into what should be calm. But silence preserves, it protects your integrity from damage. It keeps your peace intact when others try to disrupt it. It prevents unnecessary escalation. There is a fierce power in not responding to provocation, not because you don't care, but because you do care about your future, your reputation, and your growth. It's like a lion in the wild who doesn't chase every noisy animal around. The lion waits for the right moment, conserving energy and protecting what matters most. Your silence can protect your dreams from being drowned out by criticism and negativity. It guards your confidence against being shaken by doubt and opinion. It shields your character from being dragged into unnecessary conflict. Most importantly, silence protects your peace. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of control. When you choose silence over reaction, you choose to control the narrative of your life instead of letting others control it for you. You choose to be the architect of your emotions rather than the victim of someone else's words. Imagine how different your life would be if you never gave your power away in angry responses, desperate explanations, or rushed judgments. Imagine the strength you would build by preserving your energy and protecting your inner sanctuary with silence. This is not about ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It's about being strategic with your responses, knowing when to engage and when to withdraw, understanding that sometimes silence is the most powerful statement you can make. Because not every fight is yours to fight. Not every insult is yours to carry. Not every misunderstanding is yours to fix. Let your silence be the fortress that protects what noise cannot defend. The essence of who you are, your dignity, and your destiny. Silence is not weakness. It is your strongest shield. As you step into the power of your silence, remember that it is not emptiness but strength. An intentional choice to protect your peace, preserve your purpose, and position yourself for greatness. Let your quiet confidence speak louder than any words ever could, knowing that your time to shine will come in its perfect season. Thank you for embracing this truth today. I wish you the wisdom to harness your silence as your greatest weapon. Good luck on your journey.